Within the Black community, individuals live most of their lives without ever being able to pull their hair back into a ponytail, much less have their hair brush against their shoulders, and never knowing what it's like to have their hair brush against their lower backs. This has led to the belief that genetics is the demon behind this particular feature. However, many do not understand that our genes are turned on and they're functioning perfectly. The problem is breakage. And that is the topic for today's video, breakage. I will be getting into the factors that contribute to breakage and how we can overcome these to achieve our long, healthy hair. You see, breakage is the #1 enemy holding you back from achieving your hair dreams. But knowledge is power, and with the right information, consistency, and a bit of effort and patience, you'll be able to achieve your goals. But I must make clear that a small amount of breakage is normal. In this video, I'll be talking about the breakage that hinders you from retaining length. But first, you must be able to differentiate between breakage and normal shedding. Normally, your shed strands will have a bulb, a hair bulb at the end. So simply pass your fingers along that strand, and if you feel that bulb, it's a shed strand. However, if that bulb is non-existent, it's a broken strand. In many cases, broken strands are often shorter, while shed strands are longer. Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel, Self-Care Voyage. If it's your first time here, I'm happy to have you. And if you're a returning subscriber, I'm grateful for your support. Now, the first way to prevent breakage is to make your hair stronger. And the only way you can achieve this goal is by ensuring that your health is optimal and the nutrients you consume, they're ideal. If your nutrients are not optimal, then your body will be in conservation mode. Your body will not have extra nutrients to produce stronger hair. So focusing on your iron, your omega-3 fatty acids, your vitamin D, your vitamin Bs, zinc, copper, and your protein, these will all contribute to stronger hair that will withstand environmental stressors. You must ensure that you get adequate sleep so that your hormones will be balanced, because hormonal imbalances will contribute to weaker hair strands. If your thyroid hormones are off balance, then this also will lead to weaker hair strands being produced. If you're a smoker, then there will be decreased blood flow to your hair follicles, resulting in weaker hair strands. Now, let's focus on something in particular related to your hair strands, because this is where breakage occurs. There is one particular component that I want to touch on and I would like to explain so that you will have a clearer idea of why certain hair care practices will contribute more to breakage. So each hair strand has an outer layer, an outer protective layer. It's a lipid layer that is made up of something called 18-methyl eicosanoic acid. This lipid layer is extremely important because it prevents too much water from entering your hair strands. In other words, it contributes to your hair's hydrophobicity. Now, if your hair absorbs too much water, then it will cause damage, something that's called hygral fatigue. Now, I spoke about this in another video where I explained how you can use coconut oil to prevent hair damage from hygral fatigue. I'll try to pop up this video somewhere on the screen. Now, this lipid layer also plays an important role when it comes to reducing friction, because it offers your strands lubrication so that it will not tangle easily, especially when it's wet, because tangled hair can result in breakage. This lipid layer also contributes to softness and shine. A healthy epicuticle will contribute to a smooth hair strand. Now, unfortunately, many of us engage in hair care practices that contribute to damage of this lipid layer. And now we will get into some of those factors so that you can understand what you've been doing wrong and try to curb these habits. Now, the first factor that contributes to damage to your epicuticle are straighteners and chemical waving. So in addition to depleting the lipid layer from your strands, straighteners or chemical relaxers, they often have a very high pH between 9 and 14. This causes your hair strands to swell and your cuticles to lift, which allows the chemicals to penetrate to your cortex. Now, when these chemicals penetrate your hair shaft, they react with the keratin protein in your hair. They break and rearrange the disulfide bridges, and they cause your hair to become more soft and stretchy. Now, while all this is going on, your hair is becoming weaker, and weaker hair will tend to break much easier. In addition, these chemicals leave residue on your strands, causing them to become more dry and brittle. Now, it's these same mineral deposits from your relaxers and your chemical dyes that causes the depletion of your 18-methyl eicosanoic acid, or your lipid layer. Now, with relaxed hair, the breakage often occurs between the junction where you have the new growth and the previously processed hair. Here are some ways in which you can prevent or minimize breakage if you're using relaxers or permanent waving. So you will need to replenish the amino acids by doing protein treatments. Consider deep conditioning your hair every time you relax and on your wash days. Do not relax your bleached hair. Do not combine different relaxers. So if you use a relaxer with thioglycolate, then do not use guanidine relaxers. You should always apply relaxer to a small section of hair first before going all in. You should only apply relaxers to the new growth if you are a regular. If you are someone who straightens or permanently wave your hair and then you're considering dyeing your hair, please wait at least 2 weeks after relaxing your hair before dyeing it. Ensure that you properly neutralize your relaxers. It's better to go to a stylist to get this done. Another factor that contributes to breakage is Brazilian keratin treatment, which can cause mid-shaft breakage as well as breakage to the tips of your strands. Chemical dyes can also contribute to mineral deposits, leading to dry, brittle hair strands, resulting in hair breakage. Now, if you're someone who bleaches their hair, then it's better to avoid bleaching your hair before the summer because bleached hair is more prone to sun damage. Another thing you must do if you bleach your hair is to use mild shampoos, and your bleached hair will also require regular deep conditioning. You may have to deep condition your hair once or sometimes even twice a week. Whenever you're considering hair dyes, try to stick to colors that are more close to your natural hair colors, because the farther off from your hair color you go, you're likely to suffer more hair damage that results in breakage. I want to encourage you to adopt this mindset when caring for your hair. Once your hair grows out of its follicles, you can either damage it or preserve it. Once it's damaged, you can't replace the proteinaceous material that you lose from the strands. The only thing you can do is temporarily increase its tensile strength by applying treatments with hydrolyzed amino acids. Now let's talk about heat styling. Frequent use of hot tools like blow dryers and straighteners can deplete the 18 MEA from your hair strands. Now, if you're going to use heat, it's important to use heat protectants containing high substantive silicones, which will help to diffuse the heat across your hair strands, preventing brittleness and breakage. These heat protectants can also help to repair your broken hair cuticles. Another way to avoid breakage is to practice combing and detangling your hair with your fingers so as to navigate and remove tangles and knots easily. Another way to minimize breakage is to use hair care products with low pH, which will neutralize the negative charges, allowing your cuticles to lay flat. It will cause your hair strands to be smooth, more manageable, and minimize tangles. Chlorinated pools, sun exposure, and harsh weather can also damage the lipid layer of your strands, contributing to frizziness, decreased manageability, more tangles, and breakage. Hard water can also contribute to breakage because of mineral deposits on your hair strands, which cause them to become more dry and brittle. Sometimes you may experience breakage because you're using a hair care product containing too much protein, which throws your moisture protein off balance. Keeping your hair stretched in tension-free styles will minimize tangles and therefore prevent breakage. Pay attention to your ends. Always watch out for single strand knots as well as split ends. Whenever you notice them, simply clip them out. Or you can trim your hair now and again. I don't believe in trimming your hair every month because, for example, if your hair only grows 0.25 inches a month and you're cutting off 0.5 inches or 1 inch every month, then you will not retain length. For this reason, I often inspect my ends and I prefer the search and destroy method. Now, if you prefer your ends to be neat, then go ahead and trim. However, I must say that each strand of hair on your head is in a different hair growth phase. So, one strand might be in the anagen phase while another is in the telogen phase, so your hair will never be all aligned. No matter how much trimming you do, at some point the ends are going to be uneven. So if that's an aesthetic thing for you, you want it to always look neat, then go ahead and trim. However, if your goal is to retain length, then the best option is to do the search and destroy method. Glues from weaves and wigs can get caught in the telogen hair, and these hairs can tangle with your normal strands. Tangling will result in breakage. Remember, if you're going to use weaves and wigs, maintain a healthy hair underneath. Keep your hair moisturized, well lubricated, well protected. Please do not wear your wigs and weaves for extended periods and avoid tension. Another way to avoid breakage is to handle your processed hair gently. Do not rip through your strands with combs and brushes. And last but not least, as it relates to preventing hair breakage, is to protect your ends. Remember, they're the oldest part of your hair and they can break more easily. So maintain protein moisture balance with your ends. When you're moisturizing your hair, pay special attention to your ends and handle them gently. And finally, keep up with your cleansing routine so that your follicles are not clogged. If your follicles are nice and free and clean, then healthy, strong hair will be able to grow out of them. And there you have it. These are all the tips I have for you so that you can minimize breakage and retain length. I hope this video has been enlightening. And if you did find it to be informative, kindly hit the thumbs up button. That's all I ask. And until the next time, Your self-care journey starts now.